Hey, it's Yay for Yarn, and today I'm going to show you how I graft together flat panels knitted on the Addi Knitting Machines. And grafting is basically taking two rows of live stitches and sewing them together with another piece of yarn in a way to make it look totally seamless. There's no seam, it just looks like another row of knitting. So what I have here is two Addi panels, flat panels, and this is the cast on edge, and I cast on with a piece of waste yarn so that all of my stitches are held on that piece of waste yarn. And this is a bind off edge where that all of my stitches are still held with a piece of waste yarn. And I have a piece of the same weight, worsted weight yarn as this, and I'm actually using a different color today so that you can see what I'm doing, but normally you would use the same yarn that you were working with. So since there are two edges here, we've got one edge, the cast on edge, that is pretty much a row of live stitches with a piece of yarn threaded through them. And the bind off edge is the same thing. It's a row of live stitches with a piece of yarn threaded through them. And so we're going to stitch them together so that we're creating basically just another row of knitting instead of a seam, so that it flows seamlessly together. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start stitching these together by first of all starting at the right hand edge here because I'm right-handed, and I'm going to start with this piece down here, the piece closest to me. What I'm doing here is I'm going to come up through that first edge stitch. You want to make sure you don't twist your stitches. And then I'm going to come over here to this edge, and I'm going to go down through the first stitch and up through the next one. And you want to be very careful here that you are not splitting your waste yarn that you cast on with, because you don't want to get that caught in your seam. You're going to pull it out at the end. And you have to leave a tail so that you don't run out of tail at the end. And another important thing is that your yarn that you're grafting with should be at least 2, preferably 3 times longer than your piece is wide. So now I've come up through this one on this piece, down through the next one, and up through the next one on the top piece. Now on the bottom piece I'm going to go down through the one I just came up through and up through the next one. And that is the equivalent of one knitted stitch. So now up here I'm going to go down through the one that I already went through and up through the next one. And then I'm going to go down through the one I already went through down here, up through the next one, down through the next one, down through the one I already went through here, and up through the next one. And as you can see, we are making what looks like a row of knitted stitches. And you can adjust the tension there to make that look even with the rest of it. And I'm going to keep doing this all the way across. I'm going to go down through the one I just went through on the first piece and up through the one next to it. Then I'm going to go down through the one I just went through on the second piece and up through the one next to it. And I'm going to keep repeating this all the way across. So now I have grafted all the way across until I have one stitch left both on the bottom and on the top. And the last thing I did was go down and then come up on the bottom. So I'm going to go down and come up in the last stitches on the top. And then I'm going to go down through the one I just came out of before and up through the last one on the bottom. And since there's only one strand of yarn running through this last stitch, what I'm going to do is go back down through the one that I just came out of on the other side. and that will close up that end. So now what we're going to do is take both pieces of waste yarn and just pull them out. And now, as you can see, we have a perfectly grafted panel that was originally made from 2. And on the edges here, you are going to have to take the tails on both ends, secure them, and weave them in to your seams, wherever you're seaming, or whatever you decide to do, however you want to finish your project. But if you had done this in the matching yarn, this would be completely invisible. And if you want to, you can go ahead and just tweak the tension on some of the stitches if you feel they should be a little bit bigger or smaller, whatever you see that matches the tension on the rest of your piece. And if we turn this over, you can see that the texture, aside from being a different color, the texture is going to be exactly the same if you do this in the matching yarn on the back. So, done in the right color of yarn, this will seamlessly join 2 pieces of knitting together without having a ridge or a seam here. So this can be very useful in a lot of different Addi projects, and I will be making some tutorials on Addi projects that use this technique. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye!